Chelsea and Andrew, welcome to the Retail Horror Podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
I'm super excited. I mean, I was just telling your husband that I have been like obsessing about your aesthetic. You know, Danielle, we talked about, she used to work for me. We interviewed her last season. And I've been kind of watching the buildup of the 29 Palms area and that whole shopping district. And I stumbled across you guys. And now I'm obsessed because your whole lifestyle brand is everything.
Oh, thank you so much. We worked really hard in the past couple of years. And it all came together so amazing.
I can't wait to dig in. So first, why don't you guys, starting with Chelsea, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of talk about the brand a little bit, and then we'll kind of dive into some of the questions.
So basically, I grew up actually starting in retail. That was always my passion, was like working in a clothing store, boutique. My first job was TJ Maxx. I basically worked there for 7 years, all through high school and a couple of years in college. I probably could have became the manager if I was really looking to pursue that, but I wanted to eventually figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I really knew I wanted to move to California, and California has always been a dream of mine. I had family out here. Once I graduated college is when I moved across the country and basically started my life living the dream. And Andrew actually walked into my life during that time I was moving to California.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a good time or a bad time. Like, we literally had like 2 weeks and it was kind of like a make or break, right? And it was like, shit, am I going to do this? Am I going to quit everything and move across the country for her? And I did.
So you guys met right before you moved out to California?
Yeah.
Where did you guys live?
So we lived in Boston.
Okay.
Originally from Connecticut, but moved to Boston, was there for college. Apparently Andrew was in Boston for a couple of years, and we met at a Red Sox game.
Huh.
And it was kind of a romantic love story.
I love that.
Yeah. I kind of took a little two-week hiatus from work. I was kind of like, wow, this is really cool. I'm really living this dream right now. And then she dropped the whole I'm moving to California thing. And I came out to visit once. It was my first time coming to California, and I was like, oh, I can do this. This is nice.
I sucked him right in.
She got me. She roped me in. So, I did what any sane person would do, right? I quit my job, put everything I could fit into a U-Haul, drove across country.
That's amazing. Where did you first end? Did you end up in Joshua? Your stores are in Joshua Tree, 29 Palms area.
No, so we were actually in San Diego first, and then my family had houses out here, and we always found ourselves coming to the desert, loving to escape from, reality. And the desert really connected us, and we decided to move out here, save some money, enjoy nature, travel. And then I was working for Spartan Race, which is like an obstacle course, as a coordinator for that. So I got furloughed during COVID, and that's kind of when my eyes opened, and I'm like, let's really try this out and open up a boutique and see how it does. And during COVID is when, honestly, it blew up out here. There were so many people from like all over just escaping and trying to get to the desert and get away from the city life and the
desert was like the only thing that was like open and happening, right? It's like COVID never happened out here. It's like everyone came here, right? Like the city shut down. Well, let's go to the desert. And it's like,
let's get away from everyone.
Yeah.
It really was everyone here.
It was packed here. It was packed. Like, I've never seen it so packed. And we moved out here. We're going on 6 years now, right? So like we were out here before COVID, before the boom, right? And before moving to Joshua Tree in the desert was like the cool, sexy thing to do, right? Before everyone was working remote, like we really kind of came out and like
we saw a huge change, like crazy.
Yeah, it was dramatic, the change out here.
I can imagine. I mean, because I came out, I did styling for the girls who started Energy Muse. We filmed their book Crystal Muse out there at 2 different locations, and even then it was like tons of people were flipping places and turning them into Airbnbs already. But it still had that very quiet, it was still like you know, wasn't tons of people, like you knew tons of
Right.
people were there, but you didn't see them.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then COVID changed all of that. It just,
Yeah. When you go in the park, it's just lines of cars. Like you can't even pull on the side of the road. It was like insane. Like people trashed the place, and it was really,
yeah, I mean,
really
it was sad for the park. But honestly, it was great for business, right? I mean, it's literally, you know, people were coming out here.
we took advantage of it.
Joshua Tree is like a desert in every sense, right? Like obviously it's a desert, but like it's a food desert, it's a shopping desert, it's a just any supply desert, right? Like you just don't have the amenities that you have in a city, right? Or like in San Diego, you can't just go to a boutique and go to a grocery store. I mean, there's one bar in town in Joshua Tree. There's literally one bar and restaurant in town.
Yeah.
Like,
And there wasn't really any other like women's boutique that was like stylish and trendy. So like we kind of, you know,
I mean, we just saw an obvious void,
Yeah.
right? You shouldn't have to go to a box store such as Marshall's or Walmart to go shopping, right? If you're living out here, you should be able to shop what we consider like normal, right? Like you should be able to go get a pair of jeans from a local business, not have to go to Walmart to get them.
Yeah, I don't think people realize, for those you who have not gone to Joshua Tree or people on the East Coast, Joshua Trees is literally, there's one street in, there's 2 stop signs, there is a giant Walmart, which, oh my God, I had to go get stuff for the shoot. And I was like in total culture shock. I'm like, where am I?
people of Walmart.
Yeah, you know, that whole People of Walmart, like Instagram account and everything. Like I really feel like a lot of it happens there at that
God,
Walmart, like that particular Walmart.
Yeah.
Seems
People watching there is interesting.
I've never seen anything. So it's like a lot of people know about it. A lot of people go to it. It's
A lot of tourists. Yeah.
incredibly famous, but there's really, I mean, I think I read an article that you guys were in that you said there's no sewage system.
Yeah, there's no sewer out here. Everyone's on their own septics.
Wow.
Water is like we have water towers. Like, so like everyone's kind of on their own little water basin tower. I
Wow,
mean,
that's crazy. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
it's remote. When they talk about rural America, this is rural. This is
Yeah.
It's
this
so,
is
I mean,
BFE out here.
It's so different. It's very different than other
But we love it, you know, and I
Yeah.
think that's the best
There's so
part
much
about it.
beauty to it. I don't know. You just enjoy the simple things out here and appreciate it, you know, being away from people and having nature surrounding you.
I mean,
Golden hour.
it's stunning. I mean, so tell me a little bit. Okay, so the pandemic hits. Were you guys open at the time of the pandemic, or did you guys open like during pandemic?
During, so like
That May
April.
or April.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic hit, Chelsea got furloughed, and it was kind of like, well, what are we gonna do? You know, like what do you want to do out here? Because like, what you're gonna go work at Walmart or the grocery store?
God.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it, you know. And then she always had this dream of having, you know, wanting a boutique, and then I was like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, we already had the following on Instagram since we were like a travel blog before this. So like people already were interested in like traveling and Joshua Tree, and
Yeah, it was
we just kind
definitely-
of grew our brand off that, kind of like branched
yeah,
it into more trendy and
it was an easy transition, right?
desert
Like,
boho.
yeah. You know, I think we took our existing kind of travel and kind of like lifestyle of that, and then that's kind of what we built our clothing around, right? Like Chelsea would do the shopping and the merchandising kind of based on our travels, right? Like things that she would wear when we travel or when we're
Or-
here in the desert, you know,
More
things.
desert style, like fringe jackets, overalls, coveralls, hats, bandanas, you know, all that fun jazz.
So how did you guys, since we're now in the pandemic, you've been laid off, like, and now you are openings, how are you financing this? I want to hear that story because Andrew trolled me off camera a little bit.
Well, you want
Well, so a lot of it was kind of like cryptocurrency. I'd been invested in cryptocurrency since 2014. You know,
You're
we're
like
kind
the only person that's cashed out on that I know, just to let you know. I mean, you're like the only person I've heard that's like, come out of it with a business.
like we've actually done something with it, right?
Yeah.
You know, our fake internet money. You know, so we were able to kind of take some of that and apply it into into the business, right? So like initially we started on a little like 200 square foot kind of like shed, really,
It was so cute and cozy.
that like the business started in, and then like we grew from there. Then we opened our second location in 29 Palms, and then kind of what we were talking about earlier with the monkey picture, the Bored Ape, we were able to buy the Airstream and fully finance it, you know. And it's been like an incredible journey, right, through, to say that like cryptocurrency funded a lot of this, but it really did.
Yeah, okay. So you started with the first store there in Joshua Tree, and you opened the second one. How far after the first location was open did you decide to open 29 Palms? And where in 29 Palms is it? Is it near
About a
where
year.
Danielle's store is?
Yeah, so we're actually diagonal from Danielle.
We can wave to
see
her.
her.
She's legit a diagonal across the street from us.
Yeah.
We opened probably about a year later, and what we did in 29 Palms is we were seeing that in Joshua Tree there was a lot of kind of like market days, right? Like day markets, night markets. Vendors were coming, they were setting up, they were selling for the day, and then they were packing up and they were going home. We kind of saw an opportunity of, if we got enough space, what if we curated the space and let the vendors put their stuff in the store, and then we run the day-to-day operations.
Oh, like a co-op.
Right.
Like a co-op, yeah.
So they rent the space from us. We give them the opportunity to like show off their business, and we want to support their dream inside High Desert Daydream. That was like the whole point.
That's brilliant. So now I've got so many questions. You talked about the travel blog. How long had the travel blog been going? Is the travel blog Roaming Travelers?
Yes. So if you go to like all our old photos, we traveled to like, what do you even think?
We did
Norway.
Germany, Norway, Egypt, Belize, bunch of Mexico, bunch of the US.
A lot of the national parks in the US.
Wait, I'm skipping a whole section of what's happening. You met in Boston, you met for 2 weeks, you decided to come move here. At what point were you like making all these travels?
Probably like a year.
Probably like 2014 to 2019.
We lived out of our Jeep for like 3 months and road tripped the US. And then from there, we took like the rest of the year to go all over the world.
Yeah, kind of do some international stuff, you know. And again, a lot of it kind of just oddly timed up with like just opportunities, right? Like my brother had a friend that was getting married in Egypt, and he was like, hey, do you want to come to Hussein's wedding in Egypt? And I said, absolutely. Absolutely, I want to go to Egypt. Why not? You know, I will crash your buddy's wedding.
Yeah, we were there for like 2 weeks, cruising the Nile River, riding camels, going into all the tombs and pyramids, and that was insane. Like, it was really cool.
Wow. And then you come back, you settle into Joshua Tree.
Yep.
Besides you're opening stores. Now you open.
We also build our wedding venue in the backyard.
Yeah, that's a whole nother chapter of, you know, weekend hustle.
We got married in our backyard as well. And because it was like, we got married literally October before the shutdown. And it was like, do we put $10,000 into a 1 day, you know, whatever, $25,000 into a 1 day event, one day place? It's like, why don't we just put it in our backyard? And then it was like the greatest investment ever, because then when we closed, and it was like we had somewhere to hang out in the back that was like all developed, and a fire pit, and like it was amazing.
Yeah, ours was during COVID, so it was great that it was in our backyard.
Yeah.
So we made it so like, I can't even explain. It was so magical.
So, the Roaming Travelers with the smaller space you had, what is the size that you have, and then how many vendors do you have within this co-op? Because I didn't even know it was a co-op.
So Roaming Travelers is separate than High Desert Daydream, right? So think about two different businesses here, right? Roaming Travelers owns High Desert Daydream. We have a business partner at High Desert Daydream, a friend that, you know, we kind of brainstormed this whole thing with and brought on board, and kind of help share a lot of that responsibility. But Roaming Travelers started in a 200 square foot shed. We grew from there. We're now in a 700 square foot building. So we're in our second building now for Roaming Travelers. We have the Airstream, which is Roaming Travelers. And then we have High Desert Daydream, which is our collection of 12 different local vendors up here in the high desert.
and
What's
20
the,
month.
what's the square footage of that one?
We're like 1,200 square feet at High Desert Daydream.
And how many, like, how do you guys break up the spaces for, because this is funny because I just talked to somebody yesterday that we're interviewing her next week and she's in Newport Beach.
Mhm.
And you can't tell for all aesthetic purposes that her space is a collective as well.
Yeah.
So how do you guys break up the space? Because I think it's like such an interesting way of reinventing retail.
We wanted to feel like it's one store. So like when you walk in, it's not divided or anything. It's all curated to like, we build our own displays and they basically have to work with our displays and we talk to them to see what type of,
Yeah.
wall hangings they have or type.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of took the approach that if you're not in our store, we're going to curate something to go here. Right. And so like, we kind of built it out of like, this floor plan will work for us or it can work for you. But at the end of the day, it needs to work for us.
Aesthetically, it's cohesive.
Aesthetically, because I don't like that fractured antique shop or,
Oh God.
there's some in like San Diego and LA though, too, you go into and it's got like, everyone has a different like sticker price tag at the bottom. And then they go through that book when they're trying to ring it up. And you're like, I don't even know what this is at this point. Right. So our idea was that everything comes in, it's one barcoding system, it's one POS system. We intake everything and then we manage payouts twice a month after that, so there's a lot of back end to make it work, but
I was just going to ask you that.
yeah, there's a lot of back end to make it work, but
so that way
I think the customer experience really benefits from it.
Well, 100%. I don't know. I don't think you guys know this. My background is I had stores at Fred Siegel in Santa Monica for years. Fred was my mentor. And yeah, that was the beautiful thing about Fred's. It was separately owned and there were walls separating, but by far and large, it was very cohesive based on the standards that Fred had put in place. And we all had to abide by them. And I think that is a shopping experience because you're right, the antique mall situation where somebody's peeling through a book, it's like, oh my God, it's enough to like shoot my head off.
Yeah, it's just cringy at checkout, like it should be seamless. Like I should be able to come up, scan the barcode. Everything should have a price on it from the very beginning. It should be very straightforward and uniformed.
Yeah.
And I think a lot too, like the vendors that we look to bring in here, I think we kind of curate in a sense too, because we want like the aesthetic to look a certain way, right? Like we kind of want like a high-end elevated shopping experience.
Do you ever come across the issue of them bringing something in and you're like, I don't know if this is really on brand and if you do, how do you have that conversation?
Maybe we try one or two of those before we fully commit,
So they do need to process, when they bring you things in, if it's like a whole new grouping of things, do they need to like, hey, just want to pitch you what we're showing, or do they just sneak it in?
No.
Usually we talk to them first.
They got to kind of pitch it. They got to show it. I have a big thing of like, if you just put that on the shelf, I'm not going to pay you for it when it sells, like if I don't go through my intake process and my back end, because like the system kind of breaks if you don't follow that process, right? Like my automated reporting kind of does not follow if it's not entered in the system correctly, right? So I think people have kind of caught on to, you can't really sneak things in.
Yeah, it took a little while to get vendors to understand how the process works. So they don't really have their own retail shop. So we're providing, that to them.
But yeah, exactly. So, kind of what Chelsea's touching on is like every vendor in here is typically one that you would see at like a pop-up market, right? Like it's not necessarily a brand or a company that's sustainable as its own brick and mortar, right?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if you can be selling, rocks and pins and buttons in a standalone store, right? But they complement other stores, right? Yeah. So it's all about, every product should complement one another that's in our store. And I think we're proud in saying that.
And we try to like pick different vendors that have different unique things. Usually it's not all the same things. You don't want to see the same thing 50 times. Like,
right.
We try to curate it to make it, be something that like amazes you when you come to the desk.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not everyone needs to be selling candles. Not everyone needs to be
Yeah.
selling stickers, so like if someone's already selling stickers, I'm not going to entertain somebody else
Yeah.
selling more stickers.
So you have their back, which is kind of cool that, it's like you keep that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a very mutually beneficial relationship, I think, with everybody.
I can imagine there must have been a bit of schooling and because, street vendors and pop-up shops are, they're used to doing their own thing, making their own rules, putting their
Yeah.
stuff out on the table. There's not a lot of merchandising. It's, I
Yeah.
can imagine there's been some education on your parts for them. Have you had pushback where it's been like, hey, this isn't going to work? Like,
Yeah, and I think it's, who draws the line harder in the sand, right? We're trying to remove the barrier of entry for companies and allowing them, as Chelsea said, to live their daydream, right? So like High Desert Daydream is everyone's daydream, like what's your
love that.
dream job, right?
Yeah.
So, sometimes I got to give a little bit, and not be so hard in it. It's like, all right, come on, they're learning, they're trying, let's really kind of prop them up and, let's find a way to collectively make this work. Right. Because at the end of the day, business for us is business for them and vice versa. Right.
Yeah.
So
if they sell and do really well, then we do,
yeah,
people are excited to come back.
It's end of the day, whatever's going to drive that foot traffic, right? What's going to drive foot traffic is what's going to drive sales. Right. So we're open to trying things.
Yeah.
So you guys basically are creating something that, it exists, but not to the extent that you guys are doing. How long did it take you to come up with the POS system and everything funneling into one? And how long does it take you to reconcile this without all those little dots on things that tells you?
Yeah. Inventory is definitely like,
it's a pain.
It's definitely like a thorn on me, like and when inventory's off, like nothing kills me more than like, oh good,
Then you have to recount every single item or if we get an online order and something's wrong out and so we use Shopify and Shopify is really great.
So Shopify has a bunch of other kind of like add-on apps, right? And I think, in going with Shopify, like we went with it because of like the power of it, right? There's so many integrations. The API is very easy to work with. And there's a lot of apps that are built, right? To support that. Shopify just kind of checked all the boxes for us, so there's probably like an additional like $250 a month in like subscription fees for like additional apps that we're using to do inventory tracking, to do store syncing, to do automated reporting, things like that.
But you said you've made your own tweaks within it also because you're IT tech, so you're able to go in and kind of tweak things. And
to kind of make it, and it's something that I think we're always refining, something we're always kind of going back and visiting of like, I like it, all right, it works, but it could probably work a little bit better, so then somewhere in between, my 9-to-5 corporate job, my selling women's clothing on the weekend, and then covering at Daydream, I find time to tweak the website here and there.
Yeah, he's my techie guy. He does all the back end and then I do all the other side of it.
Yeah, at least as my tech person, because I'm not tech at all. So at least is who you dealt with on the onboarding part of this.
Chelsea's like, just make this look nice.
Yeah.
So do you guys
social media?
So within Daydream, do you also have your own spot in there as well, or is it just other people's and you guys are the main?
We do have our own section in the back of the store. We have how big of a space?
I don't know. I'd say we have like a sixth.
Sixth of the store?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Sixth.
I'm not good at fractions.
We carry a lot of kind of carryover and duplicates of what we have in our Joshua Tree store here in the 29 store. I think uniquely, both stores are kind of positioned at the park entrance on both sides, right? So one in the Joshua Tree side, one on the 29 side.
So you could go, enter one side and then exit the other side and stop at both of the stores on your way in or out.
That's really smart. Was that planned or was that?
So when we were looking for the space for Daydream, we saw some commercial space available and we had been kind of paying attention to what was happening in 29 and like the development that was going to come in. And we kind of knew of some future developments that were happening here, which is why we kind of went with this location. The Park Visitor Center, they just opened a brand new Park Visitor Center
I heard.
6 months ago.
Right
That's
behind us.
right behind us. So we share the same parking lot.
It's amazing.
And then there's a Hilton Home to Suites going in directly behind us as well. We'll share
Wow.
the same parking lot. So, you know, it was kind of a strategic. We saw the commercial space and we're like, oh yeah, we're doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're putting in there, but we're gonna put something in there.
Wow. So that will be number 4.
No, that's where Daydream
That's
is right
this
now.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
When you guys decided to do the Airstream, how was that decision made? Because that is not an inexpensive purchase, let alone gutting it and, you know, turning it into a retail space.
Yeah.
Like-
And did you do it yourselves?
We did.
Yep.
I think traveling a lot and seeing, you know, we always loved being on the road and, you know, being in new places. And we're like, whoa, what if we did a mobile store and actually like traveled with it and got to like pop up all around the US or
Yeah.
who knows where. But kind of what year? 2 years ago? We
2
bought
years
it
ago.
with crypto.
Yep. Yeah,
And-
it's, you know, I think being on the road, like we saw a lot of kind of unique shops. I mean, we have seen some Airstream shops and they've always kind of like blown us away of like, wow, you know, look what you can really do in here.
Yeah.
I think our branding, Roaming Travelers, I think an
yeah.
Airstream fits very well with that. You know, if you think of a mobile shop, Roaming Travelers sounds like a great mobile shop name,
Yeah.
right? And then Airstream, because it's just iconic, right? I mean, I guess you can put anything in a trailer, but if it's not like an Airstream, it doesn't have that like statement piece, right?
Yeah.
So
We bought it gutted. It took us like a year to build it.
yeah,
Well,
flooring, I had
Andrew
to do
did,
all
like, most of
electrical.
The handyman things.
Yeah,
Wait, did you say, Andrew, did you say you have a full-time job?
I do. Yeah, we were touching on that before. I
You're
sell commercial.
Well, I didn't
Yeah.
realize you're still like,
Oh yeah. This is just a side hustle.
He does it all. He's an
holy
amazing
shit.
man.
And you have a child, that a little girl that today's her first birthday. Like, where do you sleep? When do you sleep?
You know, I don't know, but
We're
she
exhausted.
better grow up soon and start working because
The vacation. No, we actually bought the Airstream because one day we wanted, you know, our daughter to have it, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like we give it to our children.
yeah, we always thought like one, it was kind of like our exit strategy, right? Like, so you build a business and it's like, okay, how do you like ever move, right? Like you can never really move from that business, right? Because you're kind of tied to that commercial
Yeah.
space, everything, right? So the Airstream was always kind of our like get out of the desert card, right? Like if it should ever happen, well, we have an established business, we have an established online presence, we can literally just take our shop anywhere now and
Yeah.
Over.
still kind of keep producing. Yeah. And there's no overhead to it, right? Because it's paid, it's done.
I want to ask you about the travel, but I first want to ask you, how are you driving traffic to, because you obviously have an online following already. Like, how are you adding on to driving your traffic within your locations? And is the expectation for the people that are in the co-op that they also do their own, you know, drive for traffic for that? Or, you know, are you advertising? How is that going?
That's Chelsea's world
So-
for the most part.
Well, Instagram is our main source right now for followers, and I did start TikTok, but TikTok has been a little challenging. I still don't understand the full thing about TikTok. Kind of stresses me out. But we've just been like in different like articles, magazines, just getting our name out there, word of mouth.
Yeah, I mean that social footprint. I think you
Just
touched
think-
on it earlier, Michelle, when you're mentioning, I don't know if we're recording, but like the disconnect between like your online store and your physical store, right? And like what that experience is. And you know, Instagram kind of bridges that. Like it gives you kind of a look into that lifestyle, into that experience of what it's like to walk into the store, right?
Yeah.
Chelsea does a lot of kind of what are they, co-posts, like when you and someone else do it.
Yeah.
So
Collaboration.
Yeah,
posts.
the collaboration posts, right? So like in Daydream with our vendors that are in here, there's a lot of collaboration posts. So it's like we're posting it and they're posting it at the same
That
time.
helps a lot. Yeah.
You know, so it's
Oh.
both sets of followers kind of seeing it.
And reels.
Yeah. And then from the vendors that are in here standpoint, it's great that their followers see like, oh, I can go shop them 7 days a week
Yeah.
at High Desert Daydream. You know, it's not like I just have to rely on them in, you know, in a market or online.
Right.
There's somewhere I can physically go to shop that vendor.
And you guys have e-com as well.
Yep. Yeah.
Mhm.
And who's running that?
Well,
It runs itself.
It packs itself up.
Automation, you know, it's
Yeah.
it's amazing how much you can automate, right? From like order flow into shipping, and just even like you know, the mapping of, you know, how a product gets routed, right? Once that order comes through. So it's a lot of kind of back end to set up, but once it's set up, it flows very nicely.
So so take me through that, because that sounds like it's run differently than somebody pops an order and they pull it off the computer, they print it, they walk over to it, pick it up, pack it. Is it a different system than that, or?
No, it's the same system. We're just eliminating the packing, the weighing, and that type of stuff, right? So like that part's automated. Alerts get automated and sent to the respective store that the product has to be pulled from. So like, I guess not to convolute it, but because Roaming Travelers has product inside High Desert Daydream is a separate company. I have a shared inventory system for Roaming Travelers, and depending on where that inventory is, it will dictate where that item gets pulled from.
See, when people talk about the different levels of Shopify, this is one of them that is the reason why you're paying for it.
right.
People sometimes I don't think understand that. And I think
Right. It's not just like an Etsy order comes in, right?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of fulfill it.
That's kind of where I was going.
Yeah. I mean, we do have Etsy orders too, and all of that actually funnels into one ship station that then routes everything out. So we have Amazon sales, eBay sales, Etsy sales, and then our online store sales all funneling into one.
We also have an app.
One ship module.
A Roaming Travelers app.
Oh yeah, and the app.
I love that you guys have an app. So do you, because I think a lot of people.
I think you need an app.
Yeah.
I think people are scared of apps. So I think that people think it's really expensive to build and really challenging. Like, I'm guessing you built it.
Yeah, but there's
Yes.
There's definitely solutions out there that are very turnkey, right? That can allow, you know, just an average Shopify user to have a full app experience, right? And I think the shopping experience within an app is so much cleaner than a website, right? Like I can curtail our website as much as I want to make it mobile friendly, but it's only ever going to be friendly. It's not going to be mobile native, right?
Yeah, the app is just super easy to use, and it just is more fun.
It definitely is more fun. I mean, within 3 clicks, you can check out. You can't do that.
And we can do push notifications, which every day we can highlight an item and it draws people back to the app.
Do you find that the app gives a better or a more detailed experience for the person on it to feel and experience who you guys are as a brand? Like where I was saying that disconnect of a lot of people, their websites don't feel like their store at all.
Yeah, I think the younger generation's using more app than going onto an actual website.
Yeah.
And I think
it's quicker and smoother.
For our
right?
target group, it works.
Yeah.
It works.
How difficult was it to set up an app for, because I can already hear everyone's questions about like, how do I do this? How long does it take? Like
it's really not difficult, right? And there's teams that you can work with that will help facilitate the process, right? Like you can pay a monthly subscription fee and they will facilitate the development end. You still do need to go in and get your Apple Dev certificate, your Google Play certificate. You need to manage the store listings. There are still some manual processes in there, but beyond that, I don't know. I think it's easy. I think it's very easy to kind of go and do. There's the resources out there to make it easy. How about that?
Yeah. I think because like again, like I think there is two different worlds now of retail. There's old school retail, and then there is the new generation, which is you guys, and that's your generation of retail. Like I've been in retail for 40 plus years. Like I've seen it all. Like I mean, they didn't even have computers. Like I was literally ringing things out on a cash register and seeing out the end of the night sales. Like, I mean, and I think that the older generation, when the pandemic happened, and I talk about this all the time, I feel like the pandemic universal, like it was like the universe had this very beautiful way, and I shouldn't say beautiful, but it had a very swift action of taking out a lot of old school retailers that were not willing to change and to try new things, like going live, getting on stories. They never had their website up. Like universally,
it was sink or swim.
Just kind of took a lot of people out. And I think that's the beautiful part of that's, I feel like it kind of fast forwarded what retail is going to look like very quickly. And I think that, for the people that listen, that's why I love that you're sharing this. And for the people that listen, it's like, a lot of people say we learn so much more from your guests because they're willing to talk about it. And it's not this weird, like, oh, we're not going to talk about it because we don't want other people to do it. It's like, your generation of retailers is doing everything completely different than we all did, but it's like seeing the success of it, as well as like how many different platforms you can sell on, as opposed to just thinking like on my on-site, my online store, and then my physical store. Are you also selling on Instagram?
We are. We have an Instagram shop linked. We have two Instagrams. So we have Roaming Travelers, and then I started Roam for Her, which is more geared towards just the women's clothing, trying to focus on, people, just people that tag us. Like I share more of the photos, when Roaming Travelers is more of me and Andrew's type of branding and couple content. And it's hard to explain, but
no, I think you nailed it. I mean, Roaming Travelers is us, and it's the brand. And then the Roam for Her is more of that like
desert
user generated content, right?
Desert trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was funny before when you asked if we were doing e-commerce, and then that conversation that we just had too about like, the old school retail, if it survives or anything, I never really saw us as like an e-commerce company, like I just kind of felt like we're a boutique, we do retail, but like e-commerce is just part of retail now. Like, and if you're not doing that, you're not doing retail. Same thing with like Instagram shop. And if you're not selling on Facebook, if you're not selling on, Etsy, Amazon, eBay, like if you're not using all these channels, I feel like you're just not doing retail.
Well, you're losing sales for sure. Right. But I think there's a lot of people that, I know a couple stores in New York that are like, no, we have no interest in doing e-com. Like we like the in-person, the reason why people know us, they come to us, it's an in-person experience. And that's why and they're incredibly successful. But it's, I think, again, like every time any of these new layers are added, and I think that people that have been doing this forever get a little freaked out, like, oh, fuck, there's another thing I got to add.
Overwhelmed.
Who's going to do that? And I don't have anyone to do it. I think that's, to be honest, I think it's more intimidating than it is anything.
Yeah. And, I don't think that it needs to like, I think you just need to leverage the technology, right? Like to say that, like, like we do e-com, like I think we're just leveraging technology that's out there and available to us to maximize our reach and our sales channels. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, like, the core of the business is retail, and the core of it's not changing. It's just the technology is leveraged to kind of reach those different verticals.
There's always going to be something new coming out that we'll have to like adapt to and figure out.
Again, and I think it's sink or swim,
I love that. That's literally my entire career has been based on sink or swim. This podcast is like sink or swim. Tell me, okay, so the with the Airstream, it's parked somewhere else that doesn't have the inventory in it, and then you load the inventory and then you drive it to a location, or is it sitting in a location that is open?
So currently we're just parked and stationed at the Joshua Tree Trading Post. It's here in Joshua Tree on the corner, basically across the street from the farmers market.
Yep.
So currently we're open on the weekends, Friday to Sunday. eventually I think we'll open up every day, but right now that's all that.
Yeah, and eventually we do want to travel with it. It's just, you know, that this is the immediate need for it.
Yeah, we have to like map out where we want to go and the different types of pop-ups and
Yeah.
vendors and
So we launched in December, and we launched in December because we started selling Christmas trees to be, you know,
Say
let me tell
what?
you another
We had
curveball.
we had a Christmas tree market here in Joshua Tree.
We were selling Christmas trees in the desert.
Wait.
Can't find Christmas trees.
Fuck, I thought I was
Well,
ADD.
desert.
Jesus. Okay, so now you have your stores, and then
It's a
you
lot.
decide you're gonna have a Christmas tree lot.
Yep.
Wow, you guys are fucking fearless. Like,
It-
love
Well,
this.
coming from the East Coast, Christmas has always been really special to us. And since
Yeah.
we had, you know, our daughter, we really wanted her to experience Christmas. And
Yeah.
Andrew's like, why don't we start a Christmas tree farm in Joshua Tree?
So like,
Because Home Depot is the only spot really to go get a tree, and that's not really fun.
again, you know, we found voids, right? Like
Yeah.
the box store shouldn't be the void,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
of the only thing.
And
Like
it did really well. We had a great time. Like the whole month of December, we
we
were
created an experience,
I
right?
love that.
It was all about, you know, so like one, we took our retail experience and we put it into an Airstream, and then we took that Airstream and we put it
Yeah.
in the middle of a Christmas tree lot
yeah.
and gave people a Christmas experience.
I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, honestly, like you're going there for a tree, you're all in the Christmas mood. There's music playing. I'm sure you're serving hot cocoa. It's like, let's go shopping at the same time. I mean, like, that's fucking brilliant. Like,
Yeah, it was called Joshua Tree Holidays, and we're looking forward to doing
Yeah.
it next year, hopefully again.
We had a full bar, so you know, hot chocolate
God.
aside, you know, we really kept people
That's-
jolly.
We had live music, and there were
that's
vendors set up,
amazing.
like a Christmas market with lights and
Photos with Santa.
Santa Claus.
Wait,
and-
okay, so I guess the next question I have is like, how are you, how many employees do you have?
Well, no. So basically, the owner, our friend James, he owns the Joshua Tree Trading Post, and he wanted to do something like this, or like we talked to him, and he's like, "Oh my God, it's a great idea.
Yeah,
Let's do it, guys." So like he has a whole team already.
yeah, no,
that
it was definitely
We
a
work together,
collaborative.
But when
thing.
you
Okay.
guys are at the Christmas tree farm, who is running the other spaces?
We have employees.
Yeah.
So we have
We have 2
two
employees.
employees. We did have more, but someone had a baby, and then another one had to leave us for military reasons. But
Wow. So you guys are keeping your payroll down. You have
Yeah.
sales on multiple different platforms, and you're filling voids all over the place in a community that does not have as many resources as it should. That's amazing. Like, I love
so-
this story so much.
basically, we're trying to work as much as we can right now. Even though like we're going all over the place, we need a vacation from retail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say
One of
when-
these days,
Yeah.
one of these.
do you have any plan on getting back to traveling?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely kind of always that like pipe dream for us, right? You know, like you definitely want to get back to it.
It's just
Our daughter did pretty well. We did a little bit of
a
travel.
2-week road trip. We went from Joshua Tree all the way to Texas.
Yeah, we road trip to Texas, and then we took a trip back east to kind of visit family. And she was a trooper the whole time. I mean, she was all about,
Our little traveler.
yeah, the littlest traveler.
I think when they get used to it, my
Like
ring-
early on.
my
yeah.
ring bearer was, I don't know, they've been taking him internationally. Like, this kid's been to Africa. I mean, like, he, like, the stamps on this kid's passport. I mean, he was like 2 or 3, and he had been like internationally everywhere. And it's like, this kid is the most well-rounded, happy traveler. Like, he's not the kid in the restaurant that's freaking out because he's just like cruising.
Yeah.
And it's because he's been everywhere and he's seen all these
Yeah.
things, and he can appreciate, and he's curious. And I think that's such a
Amazing.
beautiful lifestyle to grow up in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One day we would hope to like, travel more with her, and eventually once we get everything squared away.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So one question I asked everybody towards the end is, because you both are crazy busy and you're wearing multiple hats, is where do you guys go and find inspiration?
I think on our travels, honestly, every place that we've been to, it kind of we bring into the store.
Yeah.
When we went to Tulum really had connected us to like, earthy, boho, white neutrals, textures.
Yeah, I think that was
like,
probably our biggest inspiration was Tulum.
we wanted to like have the desert be included and combine that with,
Yeah.
it's hard to explain, but
No, I think everyone understands. I mean, it's like, if they
we
see
wanted
your
to-
store, I think
yeah,
that it's easy to see the cultural nods to Tulum
And just like the neutral color palettes, I think
desert tones.
we've really kind of focused on like some neutral colors,
And-
things that are just like, I always like to think back to like, like when we're traveling, like I like to try to pack as light as possible, right? So like just generic everyday kind of things that you can wear.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have that one like special shirt or outfit, but
Right.
at the same time, like you want things that are practical but also quality. And I think we've kind of focused on kind of getting practical quality and really making those like the core pieces of what we sell.
I'm just sitting here thinking right now, from one of your Instagrams, don't you guys do your own spices, or is that one of
our vendors.
Yeah, that's one of our vendors.
It's amazing.
I mean, they're also, I mean, it literally, like I said, like for those of you who are listening, if you haven't gone already to their Instagram, I mean, it's so beautifully curated. And like I said, you can't tell that it's like from the outside, it seems like it's one big conglomerate. Like you can't tell that it's different owners, which is,
There's a lot of partnerships and vendor relations throughout the whole thing. I mean, I like to think that that's kind of what kept us sane in some sense, though, too. That we have all these other great suppliers, great vendors, great relationships.
People with different ideas.
I mean, the Christmas thing alone, I'm a Christmas baby, so I'm like, okay, I so want to come out. I haven't been out to Joshua Tree since we filmed and we did the styling for the book. It's like I so want to go back there. It's like I love it. I mean, it's so beautiful and peaceful.
So much has changed.
Yeah, there's been a lot of buildup around here.
Growing and growing.
Well,
And
I want to go to 29
Palms.
Palms. That's what I mean, it's, I can't believe I'm about to say that because it's like, it's not something that you'd say like, I want to go to 29 Palms.
I know, it's up and coming. A lot of things.
Yeah, we have a business association that we're on the board of as well. But we have like 18 local businesses down here, all small business, that the average owner maybe 35, 38, it's a very young, energetic.
Yeah.
We're
all connected. We all support each other. And
we have got a great relationship with the city. We've put on a bunch of events here. It's really positive here in 29. It really is. Like I'm happy that we're like raising our family here in 29.
It's creating such a beautiful community, and that it's, you all are working together, and it's all, I mean, it's very communal. I mean, I think it's nice to see that, because I think right now there's not a lot of that in a lot of cities. I feel like there's a lot of disconnect.
Right.
So it's nice. So my last question is, what piece of advice would you give to somebody that is looking to open a store in a location that is not a location?
I would say,
Well, I mean, if it's not a location, I think you have.
so like just an online, really good online social media account is really important. Any type of social media. I would say don't overbuy. Overbuying is bad.
Yeah, no,
Just go with what sells. Highlight your few items that really, connect to people, core items.
A-list.
And stick to that for a little bit, and then you could always branch out from that, but like just start minimal, and then I think that's your best bet.
So did you start testing?
Yeah. So when we first opened, like, it's crazy, our photos, like we had barely anything in the store, and then as like the days went on, the weeks went on, it kept growing and growing, because we knew like what people were driven to, and what, like, candles were really important. Like people love candles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Our candle is a really hot item, our bonfire scent candle. And that's something that we've just been pursuing constantly. We're always buying that.
Yeah, I think it's tough because you almost kind of want to kind of like branch out and try like new things, but at the same time, like you really got to focus on like the things that actually sell, right? Like those core items. It's hard to always go back and keep buying the same exact t-shirt,
Yeah.
the same exact like
You always want to try new stuff, but
yeah, because I mean, as an owner, like you're like, oh God, I want to bring something new in, right? But like you can't lose sight of what those core things are that started your business and made your business successful, because those are the items that at the end of the day are going to carry your business forward.
I always call those the bread and butter items, and then everything
yeah.
else can go and get in and out of, and you know,
Right.
keep rotating.
Yeah, but I mean those core items, I mean the ones that sell in 15 days, 20 days
Yeah.
to clear your inventory. I mean, those are, hold on to those.
We are going to be airing this, I believe, the Wednesday prior to the first weekend of Coachella. So hopefully we will be able to send some people. Where can people find you? We'll put the links in the show notes, but also just so everyone can hear, right? Like front one, is the Airstream going to be anywhere on site for anything that's going on with Coachella? You guys are just so
God, I wish.
we would love to
I
be a
am
part of.
I am
You guys
trying
are so
to
close though.
network so hard.
We would love
If
to
you
be.
want to put clothing in it at Coachella, I would rent that Airstream out. You know what I mean? Like I
Or
would
just somewhere
love to
down
have
there.
that
That'd be so
thing.
fun. Yeah.
You know, if it's our brand, if we rented it out to another brand, if we collabed with a brand, like I would love to do festivals. I
Yeah.
think that would just be
Wild.
epic, right? I mean, that's like the,
Icing on the cake.
well, yeah. I guess that's kind of like my next business goal of like what I'm shooting for, right? Like I want to be on the festival circuit somewhere.
But yes,
I
we'll
mean,
be
I think
in
I
Josh.
think- well, you guys, I mean, because so many people, because Palm Springs maxes out on places to stay. So
Yeah.
I know that
lot of
Joshua
It fills up here.
Yeah, the high desert is really popular. For
So will
people
you
to go.
guys have the trailer set up during
Yeah.
all the weekends so people
Yeah.
can find you, and it'll be outside of Joshua Tree Trading?
Yep.
Ghosts, Yep.
Yeah. And you know, it's like you were saying before, there's one road in and two stoplights, right? So I mean, you're coming into town, you're going to see that
Yeah.
Airstream just shining on the side of the road. Like there's no missing it, right?
And then our other Joshua Tree store will also be open.
Yep.
That's on the side where the saloon is. Basically, you just walk a block down and you'll be there at our other store. And then if you go to 29 Palms, we have High Desert Daydream, and that's right downtown next to like Ground Squirrel.
Yep.
Um,
The nice thing is I put a lot of effort into like our SEO and like our Google listing, our Apple listing. You literally type in roaming travelers in Apple Maps or Google Maps, it's going to bring you to the right location. You type in High Desert Daydream, it brings you to the right location. You know, there's no guessing on what the address is. It's there. We're on the map.
Are you excited for that time period? Because it's like I can't imagine how many people are going to be
Yeah.
within town for that weekend. And then
we
that
gotta
is
get
like
Yeah.
inventory for that. We have to prepare.
But that's also like the best time of year out here though,
Yeah.
too. Like
like this. It's the bloom time. Like all the
April-
flowers are blooming. The Joshua trees are blooming. It's
April and
beautiful.
October are like the two best months
The perfect
in
weather.
the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Well, guys, thank you so much for spending time with me. Like I
Yeah.
loved hearing about your business. It's so eye-opening to see like how you guys are doing it and how you guys are taking advantage of every single platform that's available. I think that a lot of people, they'll take a lot away from this. And I think that, you know, it's going to kind of force people to look at things a little bit differently and hopefully test out some things outside of their comfort zones.
Yep. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for having us.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate it. And I look forward to you coming out here.
Yeah. Come
on the
Yeah,
road.
what I was telling Andrew before we went on is that the plan is, because we do Retail Hall road trips, and
Yeah.
we've done two so far. We've done one in Minneapolis, this amazing store that the couple came out of. They're very high level in marketing and Target, and they bought a lot and leveled it and built a 3-story store with an
Wow.
elevator. I mean, every
Oh.
single floor has this rad bathroom. I mean,
Oh, that's
their
cool.
store is amazing. I mean, the first floor is women's, bottom level is kids, top level is men's, and they've got a DJ and they've got a bar situation. I mean, it's
Amazing.
insane. So that was
Take me
one.
there.
Another one we did up north in Oakland at Nathan and Co. And then the plan is to do a desert retail road trip and cover you guys. We're circling back around basically to retailers that, because people hear this and it's like,
Yeah.
retailers are visual, like we all want to see this. So
That would be
decided to start doing
amazing.
this.
Yeah.
So we'll do you guys, Donaloo, and then one other location that we're here. And unfortunately, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it.
Oh.
But we'll
That's
do,
awesome.
so I'll let you
We'll show
guys
you a
know.
good time.
Yeah.
for
I would
sure.
love that. And we'll show you, we'll let everyone know the dates before that, and then we'll get in touch for this. But thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you
No,
so
I
much
appreciate it.
for having us. That was fun.